Kira Chen had been staring at the same star chart for 3 hours when the universe changed forever. The coffee in her mug had gone cold, forgotten beside her workstation in the dim light of Luna Station's communications hub. She was 26 years old, barely 2 years out of the academy, and thoroughly convinced that monitoring deep space signals was the most boring job in the solar system. Then the alarm started screaming. "Commander Rodriguez to the bridge, immediately." Her own voice surprised her with its steadiness as she triggered the station-wide alert. Her fingers flew across the console, pulling up data that made no sense. The sensors had to be malfunctioning. Nothing could be that large. Commander James Rodriguez burst through the door, his gray hair disheveled, coffee stains spreading across his uniformed shirt. He'd clearly been in his quarters. "Talk to me, Chen." "Sir, we have multiple contacts at the heliopause. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands." She enlarged the display, and they both fell silent. The objects were ships, that much was clear. Each one dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. They hung in space like a storm cloud of metal and malice, arranged in perfect geometric patterns that spoke of military precision. "Dear God," Rodriguez whispered. "Get me fleet command. Get me everyone." The next hour passed in a blur of activity. Luna Station transformed from a sleepy research outpost into humanity's first point of contact with an alien civilization. Kira worked her console with trembling hands, routing communications, analyzing signals, trying to make sense of the impossible. Beside her, Rodriguez coordinated with Earth, Mars, the outer colonies, and every military vessel within a light hour of their position. The message arrived at 0347 hours. Kira's translation software caught it first, converting alien symbols into English text that scrolled across her screen like a death sentence. She read it once, twice, 3 times, hoping the words would somehow change. "Commander," she said quietly. "You need to see this." Rodriguez leaned over her shoulder and read aloud, "Attention primitive species. You exist within territory claimed by the Dominion. Your surrender is required. Submit to processing and relocation, or face extinction. You have 12 of your hours to comply." Silence filled the communications hub. Outside the viewport, Earth hung like a blue marble against the darkness, beautiful and fragile. 3 billion people lived down there, going about their morning routines, completely unaware that their existence had just been reduced to an ultimatum. "They can't be serious," someone muttered from across the room. Rodriguez straightened, his jaw tight. "Oh, they're serious. Chen, open a channel to Fleet Admiral Chen." Kira's stomach twisted. Admiral Thomas Chen was the head of Earth's defensive fleet. He was also her father. She hadn't spoken to him in 3 months, not since their argument about her assignment. He'd wanted her on a warship. She'd chosen Luna Station instead, wanting to prove she could succeed on her own merits, not her family name. Her fingers hesitated over the controls, then she opened the channel. Her father's face appeared on the screen, older than she remembered, with new lines around his eyes. Behind him, she could see the bridge of the flagship, Endeavour, already buzzing with activity. "Luna Station, report," he said without preamble. Rodriguez quickly summarized the situation. Admiral Chen listened without expression, his face carved from stone. When Rodriguez finished, her father was quiet for a long moment. 12 hours, he finally said. "They really think we'll just roll over?" "Sir, their fleet is massive. We've counted at least 1,500 capital ships, and our scans suggest weapons technology decades beyond ours. If they attack, they won't." Admiral Chen's voice was flat, certain. "Not yet. This is intimidation. They've done this before, probably hundreds of times. Show up with an overwhelming force, give an impossible deadline, watch the primitives panic and surrender." Kira found her voice. "What if they're not bluffing? What if they actually attack?" Her father's eyes found hers through the screen, and something in his expression softened. Then we show them what humans do when someone tries to take our home. Rodriguez, I'm sending every available ship to Rally Point Zeta. We'll be ready in 8 hours. Admiral, even if we mobilize everything, we'll have maybe 400 ships. Against 1,500. I'm aware of the math, Commander. Admiral Chen smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Route all diplomatic responses through my office. And Chen. He looked at his daughter. Good work catching this early. Your mother would be proud. The channel closed. Kira sat back, her heart pounding. Her mother had died 3 years ago, a shuttle accident during a routine supply run. She'd been a communications specialist too, the best in the fleet. Kira had followed in her footsteps, trying to live up to a ghost. Chen, incoming transmission from the alien fleet. Lieutenant Marcus Wells appeared at her side, his dark eyes worried. Marcus was her age, sharp-featured and quick-witted, assigned to tactical analysis. They'd been dancing around each other for months, neither quite brave enough to cross the line from colleagues to something more. She pulled up the new message. This one included visual data. A face appeared on her screen, if you could call it a face. The creature had 6 eyes arranged in a circular pattern around a central mouth filled with crystalline teeth. Its skin was a deep purple, covered in geometric patterns that might have been natural or might have been tattoos. I am Zalthor, voice of the Dominion, the alien said, the translation software rendering its words in flat, emotionless English. Your silence is noted. Do not mistake our patience for weakness. 12 hours remain. Choose survival or choose death. There is no third option. The transmission ended. Marcus let out a breath. They really think we're going to surrender, don't they? Every other species probably has, Kira said. Show up with that much firepower, give an ultimatum, watch them fold. It's probably worked 1,000 times. They don't know us very well. No, Kira agreed, meeting his eyes. They really don't. Rodriguez was on the comm again, coordinating with Earth's government. Kira could hear fragments of the conversation. The president was being evacuated to the bunker. The military was mobilizing. Every nation on Earth, for the first time in history, was acting with single purpose. Marcus moved closer, his voice dropping. Kira, if this goes bad. Don't, she interrupted. We're not doing this now. When, then? We might not have another chance. She looked at him, really looked at him. Saw the fear he was trying to hide, the determination in the set of his shoulders. They'd been working together for 18 months. She knew how he took his coffee, black, with too much sugar. She knew he was afraid of heights, despite working on a space station. She knew that when he concentrated, he tapped his left foot in an unconscious rhythm. After, she said firmly. We'll have that conversation after. When we've sent these bastards packing. He smiled, some of the tension leaving his face. You really think we can? Kira thought about her father's expression, about the calm certainty in his voice. She thought about humanity's history, all the times they'd faced impossible odds. She thought about her mother, who'd believed that communication could bridge any gap, solve any problem. I think they're about to learn an important lesson about making threats, she said. And I think we're going to teach it to them. The hours ticked down. Luna Station became the hub of a communication network spanning the entire solar system. Kira worked without stopping, routing messages, coordinating responses, watching as humanity transformed from a scattered collection of colonies into something unified and fierce. Ships launched from Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt, even the outer system. They weren't all military vessels. Some were mining ships, others were transports, but they came. With 2 hours remaining on the ultimatum, Admiral Chen sent Earth's response to the Dominion. Kira routed it personally, her hand steady on the controls. The message was simple, just 3 words in every language humanity spoke. Make us surrender. The destroyer, Defiant, hung in the darkness between Mars and Jupiter, one ship among 400 scattered across 1,000,000 kilometers of empty space. Captain Sarah Mitchell stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display with the careful attention of someone who knew she might die in the next few hours. She was 42 years old, a career officer who'd spent 20 years in space. Her crew called her the Iron Lady behind her back, though never with disrespect. She'd earned the nickname during the Titan Rebellion, when she'd held a station corridor against rioters for 6 hours with nothing but a maintenance tool and sheer stubbornness. "Captain, enemy fleet is adjusting position," Lieutenant Marcus Wells reported from the tactical station. He'd been transferred to the Defiant just 3 days ago, one of dozens of officers shuffled around as the fleet prepared for war. Sarah knew his record, top marks in tactics, commendations for quick thinking, and a letter in his file from Luna Station's commander praising his analytical skills. She also knew, because she made it her business to know everything about her crew, that he'd left someone behind at Luna Station. A communications officer named Kira Chen. Admiral Chen's daughter. Marcus tried to hide it, but Sarah had seen him staring at his personal messages during the brief downtime they'd had, his finger hovering over the send button before always pulling back. "Show me," Sarah said. The main screen updated. The Dominion fleet had arranged itself in a massive crescent formation, perfectly symmetrical, absolutely textbook. Each ship held position with mathematical precision. It was intimidating, impressive, and exactly what Sarah had expected from a civilization that had been conquering worlds for thousands of years. "They're positioning for maximum firing range," Marcus observed. "Classic siege formation. They'll try to pick us apart from a distance. Then we don't give them the distance." Sarah pulled up the fleet-wide tactical channel. "All ships, this is Mitchell. Form up on the Defiant. We're going in close." There was a moment of silence, then Admiral Chen's voice came through from the flagship. "Captain Mitchell, elaborate on your strategy." "Sir, they outgun us, outrange us, and outnumber us 3-1. If we try to fight at their preferred range, we'll be target practice. But our ships are smaller, more maneuverable. If we get inside their formation, their size becomes a liability." Another pause. Sarah could picture her father, no, Admiral Chen, she had to think of him that way now, weighing the options. They'd known each other for 15 years, had served together on the Valiant during the ice mine conflicts. He trusted her judgment, but this was asking him to bet everything on a tactic that had never been tested against an enemy like this. "All ships," Admiral Chen's voice rang out. "Form on the Defiant. We advance in wedge formation. Close to knife-fighting range and make them bleed for every meter." Sarah felt something uncoil in her chest. Not relief exactly, but a kind of grim satisfaction. "You heard the Admiral. Helm, plot an intercept course. Engineering, I want every gram of power you can give me. Weapons, load everything. We're about to find out if these aliens know how to brawl." The fleet began to move. 400 ships, most of them smaller than a single Dominion cruiser, gathered into a tight wedge formation. They looked like a spear pointed at the heart of the alien armada. Sarah watched the distance counter tick down. 10,000 kilometers. 8,000. 5,000. "Captain, we're being hailed by the enemy," communications reported. "Put it through." The alien face appeared on screen. Zalthor, the voice of the Dominion. His 6 eyes blinked in sequence, and his crystalline teeth clicked together in what might have been amusement. "Your time has expired. You choose extinction. This is unfortunate but expected. Your vessels are approaching our formation. This is tactically unsound. You will be destroyed at range." Sarah smiled. It was the same smile Admiral Chen had worn when he'd sent Earth's response. "You're welcome to try." She cut the transmission. "Marcus, status on their weapons?" "Charging, Captain. Energy signatures indicate particle beams, probably operating in the high terajoule range. They'll open fire in approximately 90 seconds at this rate of closure. All ships, prepare for incoming fire. Stay tight. Don't break formation no matter what. The next 90 seconds lasted forever. Sarah watched the display, watched the numbers count down, watched 400 human ships fly directly toward 1,500 alien vessels. Her crew worked in silence, every person focused on their task. These were good people. She'd trained most of them herself. They deserved better than to die in the opening minutes of humanity's first interstellar war. But if they had to die, they'd do it going forward. Enemy weapons firing, Marcus called out. The void lit up. Beams of concentrated energy lanced across space, each one capable of cutting through a ship's hull like paper. Sarah watched the tactical display as red icons began winking out. The destroyer, Courageous, vanished first, shields failing, hull vaporizing in an instant. Then the frigate, Dauntless. Then two more ships whose names she didn't even have time to register. Evasive pattern Delta, she ordered. Don't break formation, but give them a moving target. The Defiant jinked left, then right, thrusters firing in random bursts. Around them, the fleet did the same, each ship weaving and dodging while maintaining their overall wedge shape. More ships died. Sarah watched the numbers climb. 15 vessels gone. 20. 30. Distance to optimal firing range, she asked, her voice steady despite the carnage. 3,000 kilometers, Captain. 45 seconds at current speed. More beams lanced out. The cruiser, Resolute, took a direct hit and broke in half, atmosphere and bodies spilling into vacuum. Sarah had served with the Resolute's captain, had attended his daughter's wedding just 6 months ago. Steady, she said to her crew, to herself, to everyone still alive in the fleet. Hold formation. Almost there. 2,000 kilometers. The Dominion fleet was adjusting fire, their computers calculating intercept points. But human ships didn't fly on predictable courses. They jinked and weaved, presenting impossible targeting solutions. The alien accuracy was dropping, from 90% to 70, then to 50. 1,000 kilometers, Marcus reported. Entering effective range. All ships, Sarah transmitted. Open fire. Give them everything. 400 ships unleashed everything they had. Missiles streaked across the void, dozens from each vessel, hundreds total. Railguns fired, sending slugs of magnetically accelerated metal at a significant fraction of light speed. Plasma torpedoes left glowing trails. Point defense lasers created a web of light. The weapons were crude compared to Dominion technology. Human engineers had only cracked faster-than-light travel 60 years ago. Their most advanced warship was a primitive toy by galactic standards. But at 1,000 kilometers, crude was enough. The first Dominion battleship, a massive vessel called the Eternal Doctrine according to their intercepted communications, took 17 simultaneous hits. Its shields flickered under the assault, held for 3 seconds, then collapsed. Railgun slugs punched through its hull. Missiles detonated against its superstructure. The ship shuddered, atmosphere venting from a dozen breaches. Target destroyed, Marcus said, and there was wonder in his voice. Captain, we killed it. Focus on the next one, Sarah ordered, but she felt it too. The shock of actually hurting these invincible aliens. Helm, take us through their formation. Weapons, continuous fire. Don't stop shooting until we're out of ammunition or out of time. The Defiant plunged into the heart of the Dominion fleet with 327 other human ships following. The aliens had expected a long-range duel, a methodical destruction of inferior vessels. Instead, they got chaos. Human ships were everywhere, weaving between the larger alien vessels, too close for the Dominion's long-range weapons to track effectively. At this range, the size difference became a disadvantage. The alien ships were too big, too slow to maneuver. They couldn't fire without risking hitting each other. But they tried. Beams lanced out, missing their intended targets and striking friendly vessels instead. One Dominion cruiser, attempting to target the destroyer, Vindictive, instead cut its own escort frigate in half. Sarah's crew worked like a machine. Marcus called out targets. Weapons fired without pause. Engineering rerouted power to keep the guns hot. The Defiant's hull rang with impacts, shields flickering under return fire, but they kept moving, kept shooting, kept fighting. "Captain, the carrier, Hope, is venting atmosphere," communications reported. "They're requesting assistance." Sarah pulled up the tactical feed. The Hope was a converted colony ship, pressed into service as a makeshift carrier for fighter craft. It had taken a glancing hit from a particle beam, ripping through 2 decks. She could see the ship list, see the emergency lights flashing along its hull. She also saw it was still fighting. Still launching fighters. "Tell them to keep fighting," Sarah said. "Medical ships will reach them when we clear a path." "Captain," Marcus's voice was tight. "The cruiser, Stalwart, has lost main power. They're drifting into the Dominion formation." Sarah found the Stalwart on her display. The ship was dead in space, momentum carrying it forward into a cluster of 3 alien destroyers. She opened a direct channel. "Stalwart, this is Mitchell. Can you regain power?" Static, then a voice. "Negative, Defiant. Reactors offline. We're a sitting duck." Sarah made a decision. "Can you steer?" A pause. "Barely." "Why?" "Because you're going to ram the biggest ship you can reach. Overload your reactor first. Make it count." Another pause, longer this time. Then, "Understood, Captain. It's been an honor." The Stalwart's maneuvering thrusters fired, weak but enough to adjust its course. The ship accelerated toward a Dominion battleship, picking up speed as its crew fed the failing reactor every bit of fuel they had left. The alien ship tried to move, tried to bring weapons to bear, but it was too large, too slow. The Stalwart struck it amidships at 300 meters per second. The reactor went critical on impact. Both ships vanished in a sphere of nuclear fire. "Confirmed kill," Marcus reported quietly. "Stalwart is gone." Sarah closed her eyes for just a moment, allowing herself that much. 340 people had been on the Stalwart. She'd known maybe 30 of them by name. "Mark their sacrifice," she said. "And make sure it wasn't in vain. All ships, the enemy is breaking formation. Press the attack." It was true. The Dominion fleet, perfect in its mathematical precision, was coming apart. Captains were making individual decisions, breaking from the formation to engage human ships that had gotten too close. The careful coordination was dissolving into a confused brawl, exactly the kind of fight where humanity's advantages mattered. For 3 hours, the battle raged. Sarah lost track of time, focused only on the next target, the next maneuver, keeping her ship and her crew alive for 1 more minute. The Defiant took hit after hit. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. Fire in the port reactor room. Casualties mounting in engineering and weapons. But they kept fighting. "Captain," Marcus said. "The enemy fleet is withdrawing." Sarah looked up from the damage reports she'd been reviewing. The tactical display showed the Dominion ships pulling back, accelerating away from the human fleet. They were retreating. "Confirm that," she ordered. "Confirmed. All enemy vessels are breaking contact. Admiral Chen is ordering all ships to hold position and regroup." The bridge was silent. Sarah looked around at her crew. They were exhausted, bloodied, some injured. Her tactical officer had a bandage wrapped around his head. Her helmsman's left arm was in a sling. But they were alive. "Damage report," Sarah said. "Shields at 15%. Hull breaches on 5 decks. We've lost the port railgun and 2 missile tubes. Casualties are significant, Captain." 37 dead, 62 wounded. Sarah nodded slowly. 1/10 of her crew gone. But the ship still flew. Fleet status. Marcus pulled up the numbers. His face went pale. Captain, we've lost 170 ships. We're down to 230 operational vessels. Almost half the fleet. Gone in 3 hours. Sarah felt the weight of it, all those lives, all those ships. But then she looked at the other column. Dominion losses. And them? Best estimate, 430 vessels destroyed or disabled. Admiral Chen's staff thinks we captured at least 20 more that were too damaged to retreat. 430. Against 1,500, humanity had destroyed or captured almost a third of the enemy fleet. Sarah started laughing. She couldn't help it. It wasn't funny, not really. Nothing about this was funny. But the sheer impossible audacity of it, 400 primitive ships charging 1,500 advanced warships and making them run. "Get me Admiral Chen," she said. Her father's face appeared on screen. He looked older, worn by the weight of command and the cost of victory. Behind him, she could see his staff working frantically. "Captain Mitchell. Your ship. Battered but operational, sir. We can fight again if needed." "Won't be needed today. The enemy is regrouping at the system's edge. They're not running, but they're not coming back for round 2 either." He paused. "You did well, Sarah. All of you did. Your mother would have been proud." Sarah felt her throat tighten. Her mother had died in the Titan Rebellion, holding that corridor. She'd taught Sarah that sometimes you have to stand your ground, no matter the odds. "What now, sir?" "Now we repair, rearm, and get ready. Because they're going to come back. And next time, they'll be prepared for our tactics." Admiral Chen's expression hardened. "But so will we. We've got their ships. Their technology. Their weapons. And we've got something they don't." "What's that, sir?" "We know what it costs to lose. They don't. Not yet." He looked off-screen at something, then back. "I'm told Lieutenant Wells performed admirably on your bridge." Sarah glanced at Marcus, who was very carefully not looking at the screen. "He did, sir. Request permission to keep him on the Defiant." "Granted." "Chin out." The screen went dark. Sarah walked over to Marcus's station. He looked up at her, exhaustion evident in every line of his face. "You did good work today, Lieutenant." "Thank you, Captain. You should send that message." Marcus blinked. "Ma'am." "To Luna Station. To whoever you keep almost messaging. We're going to be here for a while, repairing. You should tell them you're alive. Tell them whatever else you need to say." Marcus nodded slowly. "Yes, ma'am. I will." Sarah returned to her command chair. Through the viewport, she could see the debris field stretching for millions of kilometers. Human ships and alien ships, twisted metal and frozen bodies, the price of 3 hours of violence. But they'd held. Against impossible odds, they'd held. And more than that, they'd hurt an enemy that thought itself invincible. The Dominion had come expecting easy conquest. Instead, they'd learned a lesson that would echo through the galaxy. Humanity didn't know how to surrender. They only knew how to fight, to adapt, and to make anyone who threatened their home pay a price they'd never forget. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The war was just beginning. But today, humanity had sent a message. They'd written it in fire and blood across the dark. And the message was simple: we're still here. Come and try again. 6 months had passed since the Battle of the Asteroid Belt. Earth had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. Dr. Elena Volkov stood in her laboratory beneath the lunar surface, surrounded by pieces of captured Dominion technology. She was 38 years old, with dark circles under her eyes from too many sleepless nights. Her team had been working around the clock, taking apart alien systems and learning their secrets. "Elena, you need to see this," her assistant called out. She walked over to the workstation where a Dominion shield generator sat partially disassembled. Her assistant, a young engineer named David Park, pointed at the display showing energy flow patterns. "Their shields use a recursive harmonic pattern," David explained. "But there's an efficiency loss of almost 30% because of the way they stabilize the field. If we modify the harmonic frequency and add a secondary buffer, we could eliminate that loss entirely." Elena studied the numbers. David was right. The Dominion technology was advanced, but it wasn't perfect. Their civilization had grown comfortable, relying on old designs that worked well enough. They hadn't innovated in centuries. Humanity had been innovating for 6 months straight, driven by desperation and spite. "Build a prototype," Elena ordered. "I want it tested within 24 hours." She moved to the next station, where another team was working on weapon systems. They'd already improved human railguns by 40%. Missile guidance systems were now twice as accurate. Every captured ship yielded new secrets, new technologies to copy and improve. Her tablet buzzed. A message from Admiral Chen, requesting her presence at a briefing. Elena sighed, saved her work, and headed for the transport tubes. Kira Chen sat in the communications center, monitoring deep space channels. She'd been promoted 3 times in 6 months, not because of her father but because she was genuinely good at her job. She could read signal patterns the way other people read books, finding meaning in static and noise. Marcus was supposed to return today. His ship, the Defiant, had been in dry dock for repairs after the battle. They'd exchanged messages almost daily, carefully dancing around feelings neither was brave enough to name directly. But today he was coming back to Luna Station for the briefing. "Incoming transmission from the Dominion fleet," her assistant announced. "Same frequency as before." Kira pulled up the signal. Zalthor's face appeared on her screen, but something was different. The alien looked tired, if such a thing was possible. His 6 eyes didn't blink in their usual pattern. "Humanity," Zalthor said. "The Dominion Council wishes to discuss terms. We propose a ceasefire. Your resistance has been noted. We are prepared to negotiate your integration under more favorable conditions." Kira recorded the message and forwarded it to her father's office, then sat back. 6 months ago, the Dominion had demanded surrender. Now they were offering negotiations. Humanity had fought them to a standstill, matching them ship for ship despite starting with inferior technology. The door opened and Marcus walked in. He looked thinner, with new scars on his hands and a slight limp. But he was smiling. "Hey," he said quietly. "Hey yourself." Kira stood up, suddenly unsure what to do with her hands. They'd written hundreds of messages, but standing in front of each other was different. "How's the ship?" "Good as new." "Better, actually. The engineers installed the new shield generators Dr. Volkov designed. We're faster too." He stepped closer. "I got your messages. All of them. I wasn't sure you'd have time to read them. I made time." Marcus reached out, took her hand. "Kira, when I thought I might not make it back, the thing I regretted most was not telling you how I felt. So I'm telling you now." I know," she interrupted. "Me too. But let's save the rest for after the briefing, okay? When we can actually breathe for 5 minutes." He laughed. "Deal." The briefing room was crowded. Admiral Chen stood at the head of the table, with Captain Mitchell, Dr. Volkov, Ambassador Liu, and 24 other officers and civilian leaders. Kira and Marcus took seats near the back. "The Dominion wants to negotiate," Admiral Chen began without preamble. "They're proposing a ceasefire with the possibility of integrating humanity into their empire under what they call favorable terms." "Which means what?" Captain Mitchell asked. We become their servants instead of their slaves. Essentially, yes. Ambassador Lu pulled up documents on the main screen. They're offering us protected status. We'd maintain limited autonomy, pay tribute, accept genetic cataloging, and allow Dominion oversight of our government and military. The room erupted in angry voices. Admiral Chen let it go for a moment, then raised his hand for silence. I know how everyone feels. But we need to consider our position. We've lost 40% of our fleet. Civilian casualties are in the millions. Our colonies are vulnerable. And the Dominion still has more ships than we do. We also have their technology, Dr. Volkov said. And we're improving it. Give me another 6 months and our ships will be better than theirs. 6 months they won't give us, someone argued. Then we make them give it to us, Captain Mitchell said. We've already shown them we can hurt them. We keep hurting them until they leave us alone. Admiral Chen looked around the room. Ambassador Lu, what's your recommendation? The ambassador was quiet for a long moment. She was 70 years old, had served in diplomatic corps for 4 decades, had negotiated treaties with Mars, the outer colonies, and every human faction that existed. Now she spoke carefully. The Dominion has ruled for 12,000 years by making species choose between submission and extinction. They've never encountered a third option because no one has ever survived long enough to create one. She paused. I recommend we reject their terms and propose our own. Not as subjects requesting mercy, but as equals demanding recognition. They'll never accept that, someone said. Maybe not, Ambassador Lu agreed. But humanity's position isn't about whether they accept. It's about showing every other species in the galaxy that the Dominion can be resisted. That there is another way. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. Dr. Volkov, how long until we have production-ready versions of the improved systems? 2 weeks for shields. 4 weeks for weapons. We're already retrofitting the fleet. Captain Mitchell, can we hold for another 2 weeks if they attack? Sarah Mitchell smiled that iron smile of hers. Sir, we held for 3 hours against impossible odds. We can hold for 2 weeks. Then here's what we do. Admiral Chen pulled up a star chart. We send Ambassador Lu to negotiate, but we negotiate from strength, not weakness. We fortify every strategic position. We accelerate production. And we make it clear that if the Dominion wants Earth, they'll have to take it meter by meter, and we'll make them pay for every centimeter. 3 days later, Ambassador Lu met with Zalthor on a neutral station between the fleets. Kira monitored the transmission from Luna Station, with Marcus beside her. The Dominion Council has shown great mercy, Zalthor said. We offer you survival. We don't need mercy, Ambassador Lu replied calmly. We need recognition. Humanity proposes a different arrangement. We maintain complete sovereignty. No tribute, no genetic cataloging, no oversight. We establish diplomatic relations as equals, with mutual non-aggression. Zalthor's crystalline teeth clicked rapidly. This is unacceptable. You are a primitive species. You cannot dictate terms. We're a primitive species that destroyed 400 of your ships, Lu said. And we're getting better at it every day. You can continue this war and lose more ships, more people, more prestige. Or you can accept that humanity isn't going to submit and move forward accordingly. The alien was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. The Council will consider your proposal. But understand this, no species has ever refused the Dominion and survived. Then we'll be the first, Lu said simply. The transmission ended. Kira sat back, letting out a breath she hadn't known she was holding. Do you think they'll accept? Marcus asked. No, Kira said honestly. But that's not the point. The point is we made the offer. We showed we're not afraid. And every species in the galaxy is watching. Marcus squeezed her hand. What happens now? Now we wait. We prepare. And if they come again, we fight. She turned to face him. But whatever happens, we face it together. No more almosts. No more waiting. He smiled. Together. The Dominion did come again, 2 months later. But by then, humanity's ships had the new shields, the improved weapons, the lessons learned from the first battle. The war lasted another year, brutal and costly, but humanity never broke. Eventually, the Dominion Council did what they'd never done in 12,000 years. They negotiated a real peace treaty, recognizing Earth as an independent sovereign power. Word spread across the galaxy. Other species, other worlds that had submitted rather than face extinction, began to wonder. If humanity could resist, maybe they could too. The Dominion's empire didn't fall overnight. But it had learned something that would eventually break it. Humans had introduced a new idea into galactic politics, the idea that you could say no to power and make it stick. Kira and Marcus stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching Earth rotate below them. The planet bore scars from the war, but it was still there, still free, still human. My father asked me what I learned from all this, Kira said quietly. What did you tell him? That fear is a choice. The Dominion ruled through fear for 12,000 years because everyone chose to be afraid. We chose something else. Marcus pulled her close. We chose to fight. We chose each other, she corrected. That's what they never understood. They saw us as individuals. We saw us as humanity. Every person who died, every ship lost, every sacrifice made, it mattered because we all mattered to each other. Below them, Earth turned in silence. 3 billion people going about their lives, free because others had chosen to stand and fight. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction, full of possibilities, dangers, and futures yet unwritten. Humanity had earned its place among them not through submission, but through resistance. Not through fear, but through stubborn, impossible courage. The war was over. The real work of peace was just beginning. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, they were alive, together, and free. And that was enough. The END Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.